Thank you very much for keeping your dials here on Joy 99.7 FM, Love FM in Kumasi, and over a dozen affiliate stations across the country. You're watching us either myjoyonline.com, you're listening and watching on Multi-TV World/streams or on DSTV, however you're listening, in London, elsewhere in Europe, listening and watching to us on ABN television. Thank you very much. And thank you for the tons of commendation that you are bringing in for these women that you say are a nest of beautiful, intelligent women, and that this is proper gender balance. More of such panel. You are asking for Opinion Akrofi. Thank you very much for
next time
those
you should
comments.
Join us. Opinion Akrofi
Yes.
should join us.
Okay. Now, we have become aware of a situation, and we can deal with that briefly so that we go to the budget. A situation that the people in Kasoa is becoming a new sort of, city that is being developed. There are a lot of real estate developers there who are building homes and offering people the opportunity to have a decent living and so on. But unfortunately, the issue of land guards is beginning to dominate the place, and we are being told by police who have gone down to the issues that even kids are being recruited as land guards and giving arms. Looks like a situation in some war-torn country that you used to be familiar with watching on television. Very bad. Now, 250 police officers have been deployed to the Kasoa area to bring the situation under control. But many say the police cannot win this fight because the police themselves are complicit, because they are the ones that have been protecting the land guards who have been harassing, killing people in the place as though they were animals, really. There's no dignity for human life in the manner in which the killing goes on. If you have followed Latif Idris' documentary on the land guard situation there, it's very terrible. So, I start with you, Clara. When you hear that land guards are taking over a situation, and in fact, from the reports we are witnessing, the police in the area is practically unable to do anything because the accusation is that most of their officers are involved. They protect you, you give them a piece of land or some money.
Now, the problem, as a characteristic of many of our problems, it didn't start today.
Right.
This problem is, for me, as a problem of a system failure. Over the years, although we have made over the years several interventions and all of that, in terms of land title registration, the state and its institutions has been unable to provide people security of their land interest. As a result of that, people have decided that they will have to find other ways to protect their lands. We all know, of course, we can always say they should go to court and all of that, but we all know that some of the cases can be there for years. And talking of somebody who wants to build, for example, we know the rising cost of building. Yeah. So we can't say you wait 10 years for the
land
litigation
cases
to be...
normally take quite a while.
They take quite a while. So the fact is that as a country, we have a situation where security of land title registration of land interest is a problem. And people have had to find, anytime you have a problem, people will look for ways to solve this problem. The result is that people have had to look for avenues to protect their interest in the land. That is why the market is there for land guards. And that is how the market for land guards has increased. And now it is not just the allegations of police men who are part of land guards. It cuts across. Because, of course, once you have a need, you are going to have people willing to supply goods and services to satisfy that need. So whilst interim measures have to be taken to address this problem, I think the long-term effective resolution of this problem is taking a critical look at how we secure land interests in this country, the registration processes, the search processes, so that people are able to at least rest assured that they can identify who is the right owner, and when they buy their land, then they would be interested. We have to, in the long run, eliminate the market. But once we are not able to eliminate the market, we are just going to be fighting fires. We might succeed, but it will come back again, and then we'll have to keep spending resources to address the problem. So I think long-term effect is the proper way to address this issue of land guards.
Mona, there are even chiefs in this area who say they themselves, their palaces have come under attack. In fact, they are timid because they have seen people killed in their faces. So they themselves are unable to do anything. You support Clara's point that it is really about land title registration and land administration in this country?
I support Clara's point completely, that because of this lack of support from the Lands Commission in terms of getting us our titles on time, then doing it right. And we must admit, there are certain people in the Lands Commission who actually perpetrate this kind of thing to create chaos and make money out of it. Because of all of this, we now have a market where many people are seeking the services of land guards. This same chief who may be losing his palace may also then go and look for land guards to act the other way for him. Right. So the demand and supply situation has to be removed. There should be no need for this at all. Of course, it won't happen overnight. It will take some time for this to get resolved. But it's a pity that it's got to the point where people are now killing others for it. I mean, for example, the case of the church that got burnt on the Spintex Road. I believe that whoever wanted that land back should have been able to go and have a conversation with the church people rather than send land guards to go and burn the place. I bought a piece of land in East Legon about 30 years ago. I paid almost 3-4 times for that land. And why did I pay? Because every time I met the so-called new owner, they seem to have some government documentation or some valid reason.
There are people who can identify with your story.
Yes. So
in fact,
I kept
in the
paying
course
just
of this
for
week,
peace.
there's a lawyer who told me that his client has had to pay for a particular piece of land 7 times.
I'm not surprised. So sometimes both sides of the story may be hiring land guards. Land guards have become a necessity, but their modus operandi is very bad. It's terrible, actually. And so I think that, of course, the criminal part of it has to be dealt with by the law, but we ourselves have to now put pressure on the Lands Commission to do the right thing. And I hope that this new government, as they are doing so many other right things, will also get this situation under control, so that the land guards will not be needed anymore. Otherwise, we need them for protection and we need them for attack. And it's a bad situation for all of us.
Now, Adjoa, just out of the stories that Lateef Idris has been doing on Joy on the land wars, he discovered that a gentleman who had land and needed to do certain searches and registration at the Lands Commission was a demand of about 20,000 was made from him. And look, they are using the land for commercial purposes, and things were going bad. So he said he had no option than to part with the money. And this is the same place that you can go, and one property, you are likely to find it belonging to several other people. How do we resolve it?
Thank you, Samson. I think that earlier my other sisters here have enumerated on the point enough. I think that the land guard menace is really something that we ought to tackle it as a country. I represent the people of Damekwa Abinya, and I'm sure as an investigative journalist, you know that I have serious issues with land guards in my constituency, and sometimes you don't know which institution to even trust, because I have had reports from my constituents where there's connivance between the chiefs and the police, and you know, so they never seem to have a solution to such a problem. I think that I have very much confidence in the Minister for Interior, that this is indeed the acts of these land guards. We don't have to stop calling the spade a spade. They are acts of brutality. Sometimes they beat people, they kill people, they can even get very brutal. These are acts of criminality, and the earlier we've tackled it from that angle, the better. But one aspect of it also is that you see them linked to very high opinion leaders in the community, and even sometimes in the public service as well. I strongly also believe that the land administration system of this country should be looked at again. And I have very much confidence. I've heard His Excellency the Vice President talk about a lot of things going paperless, going internet, and the fact that we want to push for a situation where you can actually register your land online and all the checks will be done within a minimum of, say, 2 or 3 days. The lab project, the land administration project, phase 1 and 2, I know was started under Honorable Menace's term, ex-President Mohammed's period, and that brought a lot of reforms in the land administration system, but we haven't gotten there yet. That is why governance is a continuous process, and I know that my government would also go a long way, just as we are looking at the Registrar General also going paperless, where people can go on the internet and actually register their companies, and checks will be done as to what linkages other directors have with other companies and all that. I know in public procurement, for instance, we're trying to come up with a database where the issue that you raised earlier about suspending and debarring contractors can be done. It sits in our Public Procurement Act that contractors can actually be debarred and suspended. But what is the tool for assessing their performance? There ought to be a one-stop shop in every ministry where you can check the past performance record of these contractors and see how they performed in previous contracts, their past performance record, and how we would be able to regulate their performance. So I think that land registration and administration is a problem in this country, and the earlier we go paperless, the better, and I'm very confident that just as they started in the lab, phase 1 and phase 2, we would continue seeing.
Thank you. And Nana, there's this very good friend of mine, Yao Pong. Yao Pong teaches the law at the Central University, and I think...
And the issue of Guru Boys.
Yeah. I think I am aware that he's got something in the works in this direction, and he's familiar with the new lands bill. And I was fortunate to be part of the GBA subcommittee that looked at the new land bill. And he says the lands bill will take care of all these concerns that we are raising. So all he's saying is that we should just stop talking.
I would disagree with him. That we're looking at land guards from the property land perspective. I'm looking at it from the security, the national security perspective. And land guards dovetail into vigilante groups.
That's right.
Dovetail into youth unemployment. Dovetail into lawlessness. Because I have a friend who had to hire land guards to protect the corpse of her mother when her mother was being buried because of a family dispute. So it's not just, it's like a private employment where they offer security services and are ready to kill. And you realize that it fosters a situation of instability, insecurity in the community. And there's a clear complicit action by our state institutions. To an extent, I know a senior police officer who used land guards to build on a property. So we find out that our security systems are now called into question. Our national security, Ghana Police Service, all our security agencies, now we question their credibility and their ability to protect the ability to provide internal security within the borders of Ghana, because they have failed miserably to address this situation. And when you do a security risk assessment, you'd realize that for 2017, it has gone up. Yes, I mean, post December 2016 elections, we had transition issues and all that. But then afterwards, what has happened? And for the vigilante groups, you realize that there are more than 20 cases from January or December post 2016 elections where they even entered a courtroom and disrupted court proceedings. It is this impunity that is very worrying, and that creates a state of insecurity in Ghana. So we say that for the national security, what is the blueprint? So we are not just going to look at the lands bill and look at immovable property.
250 police officers.
What it
to
will
the
not
area.
is just ad hoc. It's just like plaster.
I see.
The national security and the Ministry of Interior, together with the national security agencies, police and all, have failed.
Okay,
Where
listen
is their
to this
plan
assurance
land
from the
guards?
lands minister,
Yes.
and then we break here and return for the budget. Let's listen to the minister, Peter Amawu.
The land guard issue, you listen clearly to the president, who is so much concerned about the land guard. I mean, and as a country, you know, investors are coming in, they want to have access to land for 30, 40 days. They are not able to grant it. Some 3 to 4 months, and some of them get frustrated. A clear example is somebody coming out, understand, trying to put a refinery, have acquired the land, you know, started constructions and everything, and, you know, the owners of the land have to come in and stop the process. So difficulties of accessing lands can, of course, frustrate investment program. And if we believe in private sector, you know, as an engine of growth, then we must make land easily, you know, accessible to some of these investors. So we will look into the processes, and we want to assure Ghanaians that we will do what we can as a government to reduce some of these difficulties in the land title administration.
John Peter Amawu is the lands minister, and of course, the lands bill, the memorandum to that bill, the object is provided very briefly here as the object of the bill is to revise and consolidate the laws on land with the view to harmonizing these laws to ensure sustainable land administration and management, effective land tenure, and efficient surveying and mapping regimes. That reminds me of is it Google GPS?
Google GPS.
Mapping regimes, and to provide for related matters. We can only hope and pray that this will become a reality and will be implemented. I guess we all understand that's our problem in this country. It is the implementation and not the lack of the laws. We are taking a break here. And
Samson, before the break, can I just make a little plea before our sister Adjoa leaves? Because I think what Nanaoye said last is important. I would like Adjoa, as someone who is in government and someone who is in the forefront, to ensure this. It's not only about the land administration bill, but it's also about this use of land guards for any and everything at all, because that is truly disturbing. I mean, you can't even say this is a policeman, I'll report him to the IGP. This is a non-entity, we don't know him, but he's now wielding a gun or a knife. And if they can now be protecting bodies and just getting into people, then they are practically armed robbers. So I'll kindly ask that I just send the message on to the Minister of Interior that even as he's looking at the legal part, but he looks at the social implication too, because we do want to enjoy our beloved country, Ghana.
Right. Thank you very much.
So, and well noted. And something you have to tell your viewers why I have to go.
So the Honorable Sarah Adjoa Safo is taking leave of us, and will be joined by someone else. I'll introduce the person to you shortly.
For dealing with budget retreat.
The budget discussion.
Yes.
And
She's chairing.
is going for the post-budget retreat.
Yeah.
And you just heard Nanoye later say that she's chairing that process. Thank you very much. She's the MP, Dominic Kwabenya, Deputy Majority Leader and Minister of State in charge of public procurement. Thank you very much. We'll be right back.